Hello, my name is Stephen Foland. I'm the current chair of IEEE Dallas Graduates of the Last Decade, and I just really want to share with you what this group is all about. Maybe you weren't able to make it to our first meeting, or maybe you were and you just want to share it with your friends. I think this is a really great way to kind of find out what we have going on in 2012 and really see what our vision for IEEE Dallas Gold looks like. So before I begin talking about gold specifically, I'd really like to talk about IEEE in general. Certainly not everyone who is at our first meeting were in IEEE, and our meetings are open to members and non-members alike. So what is IEEE? Well, if you look at the mission statement from IEEE.org, it says that the core purpose of the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers is to foster technological innovation and excellence for the benefit of humanity. I think that's a great mission statement for a great organization like IEEE, but how do they plan to accomplish something so lofty? Well, IEEE is a global community. It is the largest professional organization of its kind. It consists of 400,000 members worldwide, over half of whom are outside the United States. But of course, a organization like this is only as strong as its members, so who really makes up this community? I think all of us are familiar with the electrical engineers and the students of IEEE, and I think a lot of us think that that's really the extent of the organization. But that couldn't be further from the truth. IEEE is an organization for a very broad range of technical professionals, from doctors and attorneys to scientists, business owners, educators, even software engineers. This slide really isn't big enough to cover the scope of IEEE. And that, to me, is really what the organization is all about. It's about bringing this broad range of professionals together, to allowing them to network in ways that they wouldn't be able to without a professional organization of this size, to really do things they can't do on their own. Maybe it's a business owner who needs to find engineers for their startup company. Maybe it's a doctor who needs to find scientists and engineers to try out a new procedure that they have in mind. Or maybe it's an engineer who has a new idea that he needs a patent attorney for. Whatever the case may be, that is the goal of IEEE. It's to bring these people together. Now, with all this talk of professional networking, I want to take a step back for a moment and talk about where students fall into all of this. Now, IEEE Gold is not a student organization, it's for graduates. So why am I talking about this? Well, the real reason is that for a lot of us, the last time we were actively involved in IEEE was as undergraduates. But something happened. Somehow when we graduated, we didn't continue our involvement. We didn't make that transition. And I really want to take a moment to look at why. What does student involvement look like, and why does it break down? Well, if we look at a cross-section of student involvement, you'll find that I think there's certainly a percentage of people who are in it for the right reasons. Maybe they're in leadership, or maybe they're in it for the professional networking and development that really the organization is there for every student chapter. But there's a big section of this pie chart that's still empty here. I think there's a lot of people who just aren't utilizing the student organizations to the best of their intentions. I think there's some people who are just looking for a line item on their resume. Maybe they just want to be able to say, I was involved, I attended IEEE UTD or IEEE SMU meetings. Maybe these people were just there to make friends. You know a lot of engineers from your classes, they're going to the meeting, you just come along with them. And, anybody who has been involved in an IEEE student chapter is familiar with this last very large piece of the pie chart, which is that let's be honest, there are people who are just there for the free pizza. I felt like I was being pessimistic making that piece of the pie chart as large as it is, but after our general meeting, I had a few people come up to me and tell me it should have been a lot bigger. So take that as you will. There are a lot of people not using the student chapters as well as they should. And this leads to something that I like to call the graduate's dilemma. And that's this. When you're a student, life is very simple. You've got monthly meetings to attend. It's just one set of monthly meetings. You've got networking events, maybe a social function or two, maybe a job fair or something like that, a mock interview, but that's really it. There really isn't that much you need to worry about. If you want to be involved, someone tells you where to be, what time the events are, and that's all there is to it. And then you graduate, and you find yourself out there in the local section. You find yourself staring down a list of technical societies and affinity groups. You don't know whether you're supposed to be in it for the professional development or the networking. There's these conferences out there. You figure you should probably be going to them, but you don't know which ones you should be attending. And it's just a very complex world that unfortunately loses a lot of people. How do you transition from that simple student branch involvement to your local section? And the unfortunate reality is that question mark there in the middle is where IEEE loses a lot of these members. And these are members who could be benefiting from the local section. I think there's a lot more to be gained as a professional in IEEE than there was as a student. But the fact remains, a lot of people don't make that transition. They don't elevate from a student to a professional smoothly. And if you look at IEEE.org, if you look at the description of what a gold chapter is supposed to do, that is its function. It is supposed to bridge the gap between the student branch and the local section to give a set of meetings that people can go to while they're also learning more about the section as a whole. They're learning about what professional involvement in IEEE means, learning about conferences. But I want IEEE Dallas Gold to be more than that. I want it to be more than just a stepping stone between a student branch and the Dallas section. And that's why my executive committee and I have created the IEEE Dallas Gold mission statement, and that is this. The core purpose of IEEE Dallas Gold is to inspire its members to become future leaders of IEEE, more successful professionals, and more conscientious citizens in all aspects of their lives. Now, how are we going to do this? Well, if you look at a cross-section of any young professionals organization, you'll find out there's a very broad range of interests. Some people are just in it for the general meetings. They want to take some technical content away. Some people are there for the social networking aspect, and I think that has a lot more benefit for young professionals than it does for students. You know, you meet other people who are at the same point in their career as you are, and I think there's definitely something to be gained there. Then there's a small percentage who are in it for the community service involvement. I definitely fall into that category. I caught the community service bug several years back when I became actively involved in Dallas area Habitat for Humanity, and that is one of the goals that is closest to my heart with IEEE Dallas Gold, is to really be able to pass that enthusiasm, that bug along to my members. And if I can do that in 2012 and beyond, then I will consider my time as the chair of this organization to be worthwhile. So coming back to my original question of how do we accomplish our mission statement, we've got a lot of different types of events to fit onto a calendar. And we can't just be holding all of these events every month. That gets too complex, and we don't want to seem disjointed from holding too many different types of events and spacing them out too much. And that's why we've decided to break this down by quarter. So starting in March, we'll be holding a general meeting on the fourth Wednesday of every month, 2 per quarter. March, April, June, July, etc., giving us 8 technical meetings or general meetings per year, and leaving 4 months open for other types of events. That gives us 4 free months to hold community service events. I'll be talking a little bit later about what that's really going to look like. Now, I said that social events have their place, but if you look at the calendar here, it sure doesn't seem like they have their place. I definitely want to hold those. If you'll allow me to indulge myself with a quick story, I'll explain when we will hold those. Now, when I first became involved in Dallas area Habitat for Humanity, I noticed that a lot of our regular volunteers, the ones who are out there every month, we call them core volunteers, would talk about construction meetings. You'd be out there working, and you hear them say, you going to the construction meeting later? And I didn't know what that meant. And as I became more involved, and I became a core volunteer myself, I found out that what that meant is it was what we said around the other volunteers, that we didn't want to know that what we were really talking about was going out to the park and killing a few beers and hanging out together after the build was done for the day. But you know what? That beer out in the park after a hard day of work out in the sun, it was the best tasting beer I'd ever had. And that is one of the reasons I have decided to hold our social events. Maybe that's a happy hour, maybe it's a event like a bowling party or something like that. That is why I've decided to hold those in the months that we hold our service events. The service events will most likely be on a Saturday. That's usually when people can take off work for something like that. And our social events will be on that fourth Wednesday of the month that we hold our general meetings, and really be a chance for us to enjoy that camaraderie, enjoy each other's company, and sort of pat each other on the back and appreciate the effort we put in to give back to the community. And I hope you all enjoy that as much as I do. So, what do these events look like and what do we have coming up? I want to take a minute to talk about our events through April and May. Now, if you were at our first general meeting, our kickoff event, you already met our next speaker, and that's Iqbal Singh Jasan. He's the owner of the consulting firm Sci-Tech. And, he came up to me after the meeting. He talked to me about how he was really there to meet potential hirees. He was interested in what kind of young talent IEEE had to offer, and that's what brought him there. It wasn't until after the meeting that I realized he's also quite an accomplished blogger. He has a blog on his Usprotec website called the Ideas blog that has all these great big picture kind of ideas about what it means to engineer, thinking outside the box as an engineer. And so I emailed him and asked him if he'd be willing to speak at one of our events. I told him that if there was one goal I wanted to foster in 2012 for IEEE Dallas Gold, it was the concept of dreaming big as a young professional. So he emailed me back a few days later. He told me, I will speak in April for you, and the title of my presentation is Dreaming Big. So that was more than I could have possibly asked for. And his presentation, I don't know 100% what he's going to be sharing with us, but his presentation focuses on how outside the box thinking, how being a creative and innovative problem solver can really help a young engineer become a master of their own domain, how it can help them create their own work, find their own way, and find their own satisfaction, find the path in life that brings them the most happiness. And that's something I'm really excited about. I'm really excited to hear what he has to share with us. So that is our general meeting for the month. It will be held, as I said, on the fourth Wednesday of the month, April 25th, from 6 to 7:45 p.m. And that is at our usual location, the Renner Frankfurt Branch Library. And I'll have links to these events down in the YouTube description. Now, last month we held a free event, and as far as I know, everybody greatly enjoyed my fiance's cooking. But I can't ask her to cook for every meeting. And I'd really like to keep the quality high, and I'd like to keep the quality of our speakers high. So in order to help facilitate that, help us from going through too much of our budget for the year, we are going to be asking $5 for IEEE members, $8 for non-members. Hopefully we bring enough to the table that's pretty easy to stomach for you. We also have a special event coming up in April. That is our April 28th parachute workshop, the What Color is Your Parachute workshop. Now, I mentioned this at our general meeting. This is based on the bestseller by Richard Bowles. And it's really intended for job hunters or career changers, but I think it really has a lot of benefit for anyone, whether that's finding a new path in your career or just finding out what it is you find satisfying about your current career. It's to really give people the tools for discovering their vision for their lives. Now, I've never been to one of these events. This is hosted by Robert Bishop. He's our IEEE Dallas Professional Activities Chair. But I hear great things about them. And this is going to be on Saturday, April 28th from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Coffee will be provided as well as lunch. And he's only asking $10 donation per person to help cover the cost of books. And I absolutely think, especially if you're thinking about changing your path in your career at any time in the future, or if you're a student or a very recent graduate, this would be a great event to go to. As Bob himself has said, working out exercises with other people in a classroom setting will greatly improve your odds of finding your vision work and your mission. It really helps to get the most out of this book if you're working with other people. That's that social aspect we were talking about. So that covers the general technical meetings that we have on the books. Now I want to talk a little bit about what we have coming up in May, because we do have a service event coming up in May that I'm very excited about, and that is our Sci-Tech Discovery Center. That's a children's museum out in Frisco, Texas, that is incredibly fascinating place. It's sort of targeted for third through fifth graders to kind of get them hands-on with science and technology. I feel like if you don't catch a child while they're young, if you don't get them to catch that science bug, they're never going to get it. They're not going to pick it up in high school, and that's what's so cool about this to me. And where we'll be working is in what they call their WOW lab, which is where parents and children interact with some of these science displays, get to go hands-on and really learn what that scientific method is all about. So we as volunteers here are going to be helping parents learn how to lead their children through that kind of discovery that comes so naturally to kids anyway. Now, we will be taking around 15 to 20 volunteers for this, and we'll be working in shifts. I'm going to have a lot more detail at our general meeting on April 25th to give you. So I really hope you'll put this on your calendars, and I really hope you'll consider getting involved, because this is a great opportunity to really give back to the community in a way that I feel should be very dear to the hearts of most engineers and scientists. Now, lastly, I want to talk about our social event. That's going to be on May 23rd. That's our fourth Wednesday of the month from 6 to 8. We don't yet have a venue for that, but we should in the next week or two. Now I feel like it's really easy to overlook these social events. It's very easy to just write them off, but I don't want you to do that. I have a picture of a scaffold up here for a reason. I considered, when I was putting this slide together, putting up a picture of a safety net. And I decided that no, that doesn't represent what I want Gold to be about. It's not a safety net for you to fall back on. It's a scaffold to help you build yourself up. This is the support network you need, as a young professional. I talked a little bit about our construction meetings out at Habitat and what those meant to me, but I didn't mention the fact that, sometimes going out in the park and hanging out with some of the old timers who've been doing habitat and construction for a long time, sometimes that is where I gained the most benefit and learned the most, was from that sort of candid atmosphere of just camaraderie that comes from that kind of experience. Now, at our general meetings, we get a little bit of a chance to talk to our members, but it's not the same. We've got speakers to worry about and projectors to set up and dinner to serve. But these social gatherings will really be a great way for us to get to know our members and help you grow. And at the same time, you'll be helping us grow. I have 4 members of my executive committee right now, and that really, with the number of events we're holding, we're a little bit overworked, to be completely honest. I would like to expand that in 2012 to maybe 8 or 12 members, with maybe a membership committee. I certainly need a webmaster right now, things like that. And where else are we going to find these members but through getting to know you, getting to find out what you're really all about and whether you'd be a good fit for these positions. And that's what I'm excited about these social events. So I hope you'll mark this on your calendar. I hope you'll come out and see us hopefully after you come out and give back to the community out at Sci-Tech. So finally, I want to ask the question, what's next? Well, as horribly cliche as it might be for me to say this on YouTube, I'd like you to follow us. I'd like you to go to our website. That's sites.ieee.org/Dallas Gold. I'll have that link down in our description of this video. And I'd love you to check out the calendar. I'd love you to keep active in what's coming up. Of course, I send out emails maybe every week or so. If you register your email with us or come out to our event, I'll get you on that list. But we're also on Facebook, Twitter. I particularly like LinkedIn. I suggest that every member get involved in LinkedIn and certainly join our group. I send out announcements of our upcoming events there. And of course, follow us right here on YouTube. I'm sure I'll be posting plenty of videos in the near future of our past events and maybe a few like this of our upcoming events as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you out at one of our events very soon.